Good evening, good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to our service this evening. We are glad to see all of you and hope that the immediate future, and don't ask me when, but in the immediate future, we will be able to see each other in person in our sanctuary. Let us begin our service with the singing of Havenu Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Havenu Shalom Aleichem, Havenu Shalom Aleichem, Havenu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Havenu Shalom Aleichem, Havenu Shalom Aleichem, Havenu Shalom Aleichem, Havenu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem.
We continue now with the Shabbat candle blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Shabbat.
For those of you who have your books with you, I'm in the middle of page 6. May the door of our synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be for all who enter the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Page 20, Lecha Dodi.
Shabbat
thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Page 28, please rise for the Baruch.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'dvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chokhmah poteach she'arim, u'b'tbona meshane itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'mesader et hakokavim, v'mishmerotehem barakir kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla golel, or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom u'mevi layla, uma'avdil bein yom u'vein layla, Adonai Tzevaot shmo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Page 32. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We continue with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Please be seated, and we continue with, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart.
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your being. And these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way. When you lie down, when you rise up, bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your
29. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again, we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Okay, I am if nego share Miriam, Zeli, Anue Amaru. Adonai Yimloch, Adonai Yimloch, Leolam Vaed. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגרם יד חזק ממנו. Baruch atah Adonai Yisrael.
Page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, apores sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Let us turn now to page 44, Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam beribolam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam beribolam. Beni Tuven, Bnei Israel, Ohid le'olam. Beni Uven, Bnei Israel, Ohid le'olam. Sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim veit haaretz. Ubeyom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash. Ubeyom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
Page 46. Please rise for the Tefillah. Atakadosh, Shimcha Kadosh, Doshim B'chol Yom Yahalalu Hasela, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated, and we are on the top of page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch Atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 57, ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch Atah Adonai, Shortcha Levatcha, V'yirah Na'avod. Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we give thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, u'lecha na'eh lechodot. Page 60, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Omecha Tosvim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Tosvim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon, Shalom. Shalom Ra Yisrael Baruch Adonai Hamavareket Amo Yisrael Bashalom.
A few moments of silent private prayer.
May the Lord protect and defend you. May He always shield you from shame. May you come to be in Israel a shining name. May you be like Ruth and like Esther. May you be deserving of praise. Strengthen us, O Lord, and keep us from the stranger's ways. May God bless you and grant you long life. May God keep you and shield you from strife. May the Lord protect and defend you. May the Lord shield you from shame. Fill us, O Lord, with happiness and peace, for hear our Sabbath
53, prayers for healing. Mishaberach Avotenu ve'imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech et hacholim. The one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. Let us mention in particular Ralph Einstein, Stuart Tauber, Helen Ditton, Sonia Akilov Azaran, and we think also of all of the people who are suffering as a result of the tragedy at Har Meron. I'll have more to speak about that later. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us all say Amen as we sing together. Page 258, source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion and prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke, share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. Avinu Shabashamayim.
Shema Shammai, deliver them and crown their efforts with triumph. Shema Shammai, zur Israel vergoren. Bless our land with peace, O God, and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say, Amen.
Lag BaOmer. Between Passover and Shavuot, we count off the days, we count the Omer. It is an ancient agricultural custom. Lag BaOmer was Friday, from sundown Thursday to where we are now, just before Shabbat begins. Lag, Lamed Gimel, the Lamed stands for 30, the Gimel for 3, the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer. Rabbinic history tells us that through the days of the counting of the Omer, great disaster struck the rabbis of Israel, disaster leading to death. There are different interpretations of this. The historical validity of any of them can be questioned. And this happened on every day except the 33rd day. So on the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer, you're not supposed to mourn while you are on all the other days. And in very traditional Jewish circles, you don't get married between Pesach and Shavuot, except on Lag BaOmer. I sadly say I did not have to do any weddings this year. I guess it's no longer fashionable at TBI. All humor aside, there are other Lag BaOmer customs. One of them is that Shimon Bar Yochai, 2nd century rabbi, died on that day. He is buried, according to tradition, Har Meron in the northern part of Israel. And another tradition attributes to him the authorship of the Zohar, the major Kabbalistic mystical work of Judaism. Dreadfully misunderstood, completely rejected by modern rational minds, but accepted on a level of sanctity along with the Talmud by the Kabbalistic streams of Judaism. Now, historical research shows that the Zohar is not as old as Shimon ben Yochai, but that doesn't matter. If you prepare a sacred text, no one will take it seriously unless you try to attribute it to something in ancient times. Well, where are we now, and what is this horrendous story in the news? Kabbalistic Jews go to Har Meron on the 33rd day on Lag BaOmer, commemorating the death of Shimon ben Bar Yochai. Why commemorating his death? It sounds like a contradiction. And among other things, build bonfires. All the historical research leaves us at a loss. We don't know for sure what the origin of all of this is. And on one level, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is that this year, the attendance at the event was overwhelmingly large. and dozens of people were trampled to death. Again, without getting into the physical cause of the deaths concerned, and to what extent there was negligence, and to what extent things should have been repaired, to what extent the crowd should have been kept smaller. And I think that is the main focus. But so often we hear about public events when safety has been neglected along the way, or nobody expected so many people to come, or even we in our own lives never thought that that stage, that ladder, those steps, that chair wouldn't hold us. There is an unfortunate trend right now in certain aspects of the Jewish world. We are not part of it, those of us who are modern, and a huge part of the Orthodox Jewish world is not part of it also. That does not want to be limited by the coronavirus and insists on getting together for large gatherings. There have been some incidents with funerals for famous Hasidic rabbis where they came out in the thousands. Well, there's also the principle that you're supposed to protect life. They didn't worry about that. We have other trends in this country that seem to parallel that. And I honestly think above and beyond any accusations of negligence, and all of this is going to be investigated to be sure, and people will point fingers of blame, but still it needs to be investigated, and secure situations need to be established for the future. The crowd was too large. And the crowd was too large because certain individuals and certain trends in our world today, I want to say in our Jewish world, but it's not just among Jews, don't want to accept the reality that sometimes you have to postpone or not have at all certain events because of the susceptibility of spreading this virus. No matter how effective our vaccines are, and let's not kid ourselves, we don't know yet. This is all in its infancy. However effective they are, and I must believe they are, because I've had both of my vaccines and I'm a lot more relaxed, I have to tell you that. I'm still wearing a mask when I'm out, and I still wash my hands regularly. And I'm avoiding large groups. And we as a congregation are trying to be as cautious as possible. I thought it was important to put all of what's happening in Israel right now in these contexts, and I say plural, context for the history of it all and of Lag BaOmer. If you were listening to CNN News, as I was earlier, and they say a Jewish festival of Lag BaOmer, let's do a survey of the American Jewish population. Who on earth knows what that is? It's not famous like Hanukkah. It's not something that we taught all that much in religious school, though I clearly remember learning about it, but not in its Kabbalistic sense. I felt it was necessary for that context. And I felt it was also necessary to talk about this in the context of those trends in the Jewish world today that very sadly, in my opinion, are not accepting the demands of modern medical science. My initial intention this evening was to talk about Shabbat. I'm going to give you a little summary, and it will be elaborated in the service tomorrow morning. On the 23rd chapter of Leviticus, which is part of our Torah reading this week, we read a list of Jewish festivals, and needless to say, Lag BaOmer is not there. It is one of the post-biblical days on our calendar, as is Hanukkah, for example. Not everything happened in biblical times. Before we get into the festivals that you're aware of and that you're comfortable with and you know about, like Pesach and Sukkot and Shavuot, we have a couple of sentences regarding Shabbat. Shabbat comes first in the list. And what I was going to say this evening, and I will elaborate some more tomorrow morning, The Friday night Kiddush, and I say the Friday night Kiddush because it's different from the Saturday morning Kiddush, and it's different from the evening and morning Kiddushes for festivals. You have these words regarding Shabbat. Ki hu yom techilah lemikra e kodesh. For it, Shabbat, is the first among the days, the sacred days. The translation on page 5 in Mishkan Tefillah says, first among our sacred days. Shabbat takes precedence, it's more important. For those of us who are taught Yom Kippur is the most important day of the year, you have to be careful with your wording. The most important single day of the year, because it only occurs once. Shabbat occurs, depending on whether it's a leap year or not, over 50 times, a different year from our secular year. So that's what I was going to talk about. But I felt it was necessary to pause for a moment and put this whole business in context. I do not want to sound like I am dismissing the seriousness of the religious devotion of the people who went to Har Meron. I just want to say there is another religious seriousness that I think takes precedence, and that is to protect and preserve life. If more people had been careful, if more people had stayed away, if more security, and I mean that in the physical security of the area there, if more of that had been taken care of, more people would be able to celebrate and commemorate Lag BaOmer next year. May all of us be cautious and careful and recognize that sometimes we have to give up a little bit right now in the immediate present to have a much better future for ourselves and our families and for the entire world. Let us continue our service now on page 283, and please rise for the adoration.
Okay, we're all ready. Let's adore the ever-living God and render praise unto you, who spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are God, and there is none else. Banaturim, umishtakavim umodim, Lifnemelech, Machei Hamakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar, v'chaya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, vayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. A prayer before the Kaddish, page 292. When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust in the strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. At times, the pain of separation seems more than we can bear, but if we dwell too long on our loss, we embitter our hearts and harm ourselves and those about us. The psalmist said that in his affliction, he learned the law of God. And in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep silent in their presence and when a word will assure them of our love and concern. Thus, even when they are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as in their higher moments they too wish to live. We remember them now, they live in our hearts, they are an abiding blessing. We remember the recently departed. We think, of course, of all those who died at Armeron. We mention in particular Ronald Lebo, Sophie Pollack, Lee Black, Martin Ross, Al Grossman, Norman Gross, Lawrence Harr, B. Einstein, Dolores Schuldinger, Judith Nelson Feldman. We remember those whose yahrzeits occur at this time: Robert Bernard, Joseph Burston, Frank Blumenthal, Joseph Cohen, Ralph Cohen, Irving Eisenstadt, David Goldberg, Irving Golden, Rose Harris, Sylvester Klein, Marion Kleonsky, Eric Kummel, Ellen Kushin, Lily Laufer, Jesse Miller, Earl Polinsky, Sadie Ringler, Bernard Sandelman, Jeffrey Solomon, Sylvia Leaf Tonner, Morris Veet, Dorothy Victor, George Yassin. And those of you who have additional names, say them out loud or say them to yourselves. As we turn now to page 294 and rise for the Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon u'vyomechon v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. V'agalah u'bizman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalau shmei dekucha brichu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace grant peace unto those who mourn, and comfort the bereaved among us. And let us all say, amen. Please be seated. I have been given the extra responsibility of making some announcements this evening. And I just want to invite you to remember that we have a service at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. In my class this Tuesday, and the new bulletin, I don't know if it's out yet, but you should be getting an e-blast pretty soon regarding the Tuesday class. If you don't, here is the topic, and I'm going to make a comment about it also. Jewish geography, where did we come from? In other words, not the Jewish geography, who do you know who lives in wherever, but where did we come from? And to give you something a little bit to look forward to, I am going to share with you a self-critical point of something that I had never thought of before regarding my own family history, and something that never occurred to me while on a different level I criticized other people for not being aware. Some of us are very, very conscious of the maps of the world, and in Ashkenazi Jewish cases, the maps of Europe. It isn't just a matter of where did the family come from. It came from Europe. All right, well, where in Europe? And if I may share with you, the precious few who are here this evening, I'm going to share with you a story. A little over 5 years ago, before you discovered me and I discovered you, I was interviewing at another congregation in this beautiful state of Florida. Afterwards, a lovely lady with obviously a European accent came up to me and introduced herself. So to try to connect, I said, "Where are you from?" So she said, "Europe." I said, "Yeah, I know, but where in Europe?" She said, "Poland." So I said, "Where in Poland?" So she said, "You'd never know where it is." So I said, "Try me." Well, she came from Sosnowitz, and I happen to know where it is, and I could point it out to you on a map. Some people know, some don't know. If we don't know, we should be polite and respect our ancestors, our parents, and our grandparents. Sometimes our families tried to put this all behind them and didn't tell their kids. In other cases, they were very aware. But come and listen to what I have to say, and it's developed over the years out of a little assignment I used to give religious school students. Find out your family history. Go home and ask your parents, where's the family from? And then as the years went by, the parents would call me up and say, "Oh, that's a difficult assignment. I don't know the answer. I'll have to call my parents who are in Florida." So it all connects. Look at our e-blasts. We have lots of things going on, lots of events going on, and I'll tell you all kinds of behind the scenes activities to coordinate our organization with our new education center and to upgrade our sanctuary. So that is my list of announcements. And let us now continue with the concluding parts of our service. I think I covered everything I was supposed to cover. And if I didn't, that's okay too, because that's what our e-blasts are for. Let us continue with the singing of Od Yavo Shalom Aleichem. Thank all of you for joining us this evening. Special words of appreciation to Anne and to Kai and to Allison for the music. May we all have a safe and happy and healthy Shabbat. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat.